Okay, this video will cover parts of the sections 3.1 and 3.2 of chapter 3. So in chapter 2, what we did is we looked at visual aids, whether it was a frequency table or distribution, or also different types of graphs to summarize raw data to get a better sense of the general answer. In chapter 3, we're actually looking at numbers to try to summarize what kind of raw data we obtain after doing collecting data. Instead of having me defining everything, I've decided to give you problems to work through. Don't hesitate to use your textbook and bring the answers to those problems to class, because when I will cover chapter 3, you will compare your answers with other people to make sense of the material. So if we're starting, there are 3 indicators of center or indicators of central tendency. We talked about them a little bit in lab number 2. They all start with the letter M. Okay, so once again, instead of having me defining them, what I've decided to do is let's look at some examples here. Okay, so the first thing that we need to establish is that if your family name starts with a letter between A and K, this is the example that you have to complete. Okay, so between A and K for your family name. We are currently in the middle of the Olympics, and I hope that you guys are watching because there's some very exciting events going on, and Canada has a lot of medals so far. The Vancouver Olympics were 4 years ago. We won 14 medals, so I'm looking for people that want to impress me. I'll be really impressed if you guys could tell me the sport that this gold medal winner took part of at the Vancouver Olympics. So you won a gold medal. So what sport was he part of? Okay. Why did I have this picture? Because there's your example here. So I looked at the first 20 countries and their number of gold medals at the Olympics in Vancouver in 2010. So you have 20 countries here, not the name, but just a number of gold medals that each of those countries got. So this is what I want from you. I want you to give me the mean of this sample. I want you to give me the median of this sample, and I want you to give me the mode of this sample. So all of those are measures of central tendency. Okay, so here you go. I want mean, median, and mode for this sample. Okay, so you can pause the video here. If your name starts, if your family name, starts with a letter between L and Z, this is your data set. So this is your sample. Here we are focusing on silver medal. Okay, so this is an athlete that won silver at the Vancouver Olympic Games. I want to know what sport she was part of. Okay, this is your data, same as the gold medal. So I want you to compute the mean, the median, and the mode for this sample here. Okay, so you have a sample size of 20. So remember to bring this information to next class. Okay, so this was section 3.1. Now, after describing the measures of center, we also need to try to establish how much variation there is in the data. We can do this by looking at the histogram, like we've learned in chapter 2, but we could also look at values, numbers, that will give us a better understanding of how much variation there is in the data. Okay, so let's work with a little problem here. First off, I'll give you the formula. I can tell you right away you will not like this formula. There you go. This is the formula that will allow you to compute the standard deviation, which is a great indicator of variation in statistics. Okay, it's used really often. This is the formula here. Okay, looks very overwhelming. What I want you to do right now is I want you to try to apply this formula. But first, let's define what some of those terms mean, or the symbols mean in this formula. So before we can calculate the standard deviation, we need to understand the key symbols in the formula. First, X is a score, or the raw data. So there are many scores in our data set. X with a bar is the notation for sample mean. The E, big E, is the sum. So you add everything up, so that's E. And N is the sample size. Okay, so those are the key symbol. I will give you a hint. One thing that you could do is you could actually use this table here. So I find that when I calculate standard deviation, using this table here and filling it out will not give me my answer, but it will minimize the number of mistakes I make, and it will take me closer to getting the actual answers that I need. Okay, so now that we know the symbol of this formula, as well as I've given you a little help here as to how you could start the problem, I'm going to give you your data set that you need. Okay, so once again, same principle. If your family name starts with a letter between A and K, this is your problem set. So basically it's the same data, however, I've only used the first column of what you had previously. Okay, so you have 10 pieces of information, 10 raw data. I want you to try to calculate the standard deviation for this specific sample. Okay, the standard deviation, remember, is one number only. Okay, and if your last name starts with a letter between L and Z, and this is your data set here, once again the first column of the previous data set, and try to compute the standard deviation for this. Okay, so don't forget to bring all your work to class. If you haven't succeeded at computing the mean, median, and mode and the standard deviation, don't give up. We'll learn a lot more about it in class, and you'll get more chances to practice calculating those. Okay, so I'll see you all in class.